Hello and welcome to the Risk Assessment Training course. This course will explain the importance of risk assessment and how it plays a role in smooth and safe workplace operations. We shall start this lesson with the introduction to risks and their analysis. So without further ado, let's begin. Risk is an almost universal term. However, it has many terminological and conceptual connotations, and it is used in a very diverse organisational, disciplinary or methodical settings. Risk analysis is the process of identifying and evaluating potential concerns that could have a negative influence on significant business activities or projects. Risk is only important in a culture that is future-orientated and actively seeks to break away from its past. It demands a goal-orientated system in which actions are associated with specific aims, interests and values, so that the criteria against which degrees of risk can be measured can be established. Risk assessment is a term used to describe the overall process or method where you identify hazard and risk factors that have the potential to cause harm, analyse and evaluate the risk associated with that hazard, determine appropriate ways to eliminate the hazard, or control the risk when the hazard cannot be eliminated. No one definition of risk can readily be used, but risk management is often defined in uncertainty. Risk is not the same as uncertainty, which is the doubt that exists even if the potential outcomes and their probabilities are unknown. Risk is measurable and objective, while uncertainty cannot be measured and is subjective. The relative deviation of actual loss from expected loss, which will become more accurate as the number of exposures increases, is referred to as objective risk. Subjective risk, on the other hand, is uncertainty on which an individual's mental state is a factor. The purpose of risk assessment is to provide evidence-based information and analysis to make informed decisions on how to treat particular risks and how to select between options. The use of a consistent risk assessment process allows an organisation to understand risk levels, compare those risks, and address those with the most significant risk first. Now let's talk about risk management principles. Principle 1. Ensure risks are identified early. This is perhaps the most crucial risk management principle. Make sure you're ahead of the game by completing your risk assessment before the project begins. Determine the source of a potential danger, design prevention measures, and respond if it occurs. Risk must be measured when it has been recognised and sourced. Principle 2. Consider organisational goals and objectives. Ascertain that your risk management strategy is aligned with the general aims and objectives of your organisation. If a risk that you have flagged does end up occurring, how will it impact the organisation, financially and reputationally? Each organisation's targeted results and priorities will differ, and these should be incorporated into the risk management plan. The risk strategy should be compatible with the organisation's overall aims and culture. Principle 3. Manage risk within the context. Context is crucial when analysing project risk because each organisation has a distinct risk tolerance level. Various elements, political, technological, legal, social, etc., will have varying effects on organisations and industries. One organisation, for example, may be more vulnerable to its legal environment, whereas another may need to evaluate its societal consequences more carefully. Furthermore, each organisation communicates risk in a unique way, with its own corporate culture and risk management strategy. When planning for risk, the risk management strategy should consider both the internal and external context. Principle 4. Involve stakeholders. When planning a risk, it is crucial to rely on the experience of those participating in the project, for example, team members, contractors, as well as professionals within your organisation who can provide risk planning guidance, for example, senior managers. Stakeholders should be involved in decision making throughout the risk management process. By involving stakeholders in your risk planning, you will be able to uncover and get insights into potential hazards that you may not have considered previously. Principle 5. Ensure responsibilities and roles are clear. While the risk management strategy may be controlled by one person, such as the project manager or change manager, it should be administered in a transparent and visible manner. Everyone should understand their role in risk reduction, and duties should be clear and inclusive throughout the risk management process. Allow other points of view to be heard and promote questioning and debate. The more people who participate, the more risk may be creatively and successfully handled. Each team member must be dynamic, adaptable, and responsive. We should provide everyone with the tools they need to deal with the threat at their level. Principle 6. Create a cycle of risk review. You can keep everyone up to date on the project by reporting on risks and communicating any changes to stakeholders as soon as possible. By reporting throughout the project, you may be able to intervene and resolve any issues that occur before they become a problem. Principle 7. Strive for continuous improvement. After completing a project, evaluate how your risk management plan performed and whether there was potential for improvement. Always seek to adapt to risk management and use what you've learned to your next project. Now it's time to talk about the risk assessment team in an organisation. The context of the risk assessment assignment will determine the size and makeup of the team needed. The risk assessment team should include a cross-functional group of individuals who are familiar and knowledgeable with the hazards and operations being assessed. In many cases, the team will consist of several members consistently. In contrast, others are likely to come and go based on their ability to contribute to the individual risk assessment. For example, a risk assessment for a production operation might include engineering, maintenance, quality, production, safety, and operator. The risk assessment team should have the appropriate skills to perform a successful risk assessment. They should understand the necessary risk assessment concepts and methods. They can learn these concepts and methods through experience over time. They can be provided basic instruction immediately before the risk assessment. They should be clear on the purpose and scope of each risk assessment. This includes knowing why the risk assessment is being performed and how the information will be applied and used. We'll conclude this lesson by discussing risk response strategies. This is a management responsibility to perform a careful review of estimated risk likelihoods and potential impacts, and with consideration given to associated costs and benefits, to develop appropriate risk response strategies. Risk responses can be typically handled in 4 basic approaches. Avoiding the risk altogether, by walking away from the risk factors within a worksite. Examples include staying away from corrosive materials unless it's absolutely necessary to work with them. Reducing the probability of risks by training the staff in risk identification and management strategies customized specifically for the workforce. For example, in a construction site, staff can be trained through short workshops to recognize risks and learn about ways to reduce them. Sharing the risk by investing in comprehensive insurance policies that cover risks specified to the workplace. Accepting that there might be instances during working hours where risks will manifest, and developed the proper attitude to respond in a timely manner. And that's all for this lesson. Great job on keeping up this far, and see you in the next lesson.